Hi everybody, it's Saturday afternoon, March 5th, and I'm out here trying to work on the chicken coop. When you don't have building skills, things go a little slow and difficult, and because I don't know how to make anything square, I have difficulty. And so I had these angles that I got really on pause because I didn't know how I was going to cut those angles, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to measure them. I didn't have the skills to measure them and then cut. So I finally got smart enough one day, last weekend, during the week something, and I brought a piece of cardboard out here. Thank goodness I'm a procrastinator and still have lots of moving boxes in the house. So I had a piece of cardboard big enough to fit across here, and I made a template. And look, it worked. I was able to cut that piece of plywood with the correct angle, not necessarily the correct length, and because it's not square, the building's not square, this ended up incorrect. So I had to shave off a little bit more right there to get it to come close to fitting in the corner. But I've got that on. I bought a new pair of tin snips. So these tin snips are awesome, except they're just straight. And so I had a hard time cutting when I had to cut like lengths of steel. Those were difficult. So I bought a new pair of tin snips. I guess they're called offset. They're more of an angle. And so because they're more at an angle, I was able to cut my steel. So I've got that far. I'm getting ready to put these two pieces of metal up here. Now this has been so difficult. I thought I wanted a nesting box. I do want a nesting box. This is going to have a door where I flip it up or down and get the eggs out, right? But to think about keeping the rain out, this has been so much above my capability. Trying to figure out how to get this angle. So what I finally figured out, and I think it's going to work mostly well, and then I'll have to get a piece of trim, like a corner trim to fit here to cover that. But I cut this metal. In part I cut that because I still had the straight tin snips, and if I went just a little bit and cut down and a little bit and cut down, I could go across all the way. But I did this so that I could shape it, and I put the plywood wall in behind that metal, and then I'm going to put this sheet metal. Sorry, I never set out to be a YouTuber, so I apologize that my quality is the pits. But so this will go on top of that and keep most of the rain out, although I have some cuts are just down the wall. That'll keep the rain out, right? Some cuts were longer and come down here, so that may cause a problem with the rain and water getting in. So that's how far I am today. I've got the frame to the door I did the other night after work. So I had to put plywood on the frame of the door, and then the hinges and that. And I probably will not do sheet metal for the whole building. And I have some pieces there, not enough I don't think for the whole building. But I won't do the whole building in sheet metal because it's so hard for me to work with. But I wanted to do it on this side because of the nesting box and the rain issue. And then on the front, this will be, I hope, an opening, like a human door opening, so I can get in with a shovel and shovel out when I need to clean it. Somewhere in this area will be their chicken exit door. And someday, hopefully, I can afford an electric chicken door, the solar powered electric door, so that when I'm at work it can open and shut when I'm not here. This I plan to have this I call them light panels. I don't know what they're called. Kind of see-through to let light in. Some greenhouses are made with it. So I plan to cut that and put that there because this is east, and so they'll get some morning light through that window. Yes, I'm using air quotes with one hand on a video. So I plan on doing that. Then the inside, this has sat here for so long that this has gotten rained on quite a bit, and I can see how quickly water will be a problem if I let the chickens make this really wet. So I have decided I'm going to paint at least the floor with Killz interior exterior paint. It's Killz. It's kind of a waterproofing paint. And so I'm going to paint it, and then I'm going to lay down a piece of linoleum. I got a super cheap piece of linoleum the other day. I think, you know, I'm starting to believe in God. I was sitting at work worrying about how I'm going to afford to finish this and how I'm going to afford to kind of put a barrier on the floor to make it last longer. And I thought I figured up the cost of linoleum. I thought it was going to be $100 or approaching $100. And little voice in my head kept saying, well, just drive over there and check the price. Just drive over there. So I left work and I went to the Lowe's that's local to my work. Not well. Everything's kind of out of the way because this is such a country area, but it's closer to work than home. And so I went, and they had just cut a piece of linoleum, and the remnant was still laying on the little cutting cart. And for $21, that remnant was sitting there waiting for me so that I could put linoleum on the floor and try to protect my chicken coop. So I've got the cardboard template. And I need to cut that piece and fill that piece in. I need to see if I can find somebody to loan me some bolt cutters because I was not paying attention. There's a deck screw poking out there. There's a deck screw poking out there. There's a deck screw poking out there. And so I'm scared the chickens will get injured. But I didn't realize that I already put, that's coming through the plywood to the 2x4. And then I put the metal on the roof. And so it wouldn't be an easy thing for me to just backtrack and remove those. So I don't know if a bolt cutter will cut those off or not. I don't know. I need to take care of those. I'm going to put perches in this end. Probably have the chicken exit door. Oops. The chicken exit door inside of the human door or right there. Probably right there might be easier to build. But I'm making some progress. I still have to figure out the chicken run fencing and posts. I have hawks, owls, raccoons, possum, possibly a bobcat, bears, neighbors' dogs, coyotes. So I want to get a little heavier duty fencing, heavier duty than chicken wire for this little bit of yard. It won't be huge. And I'll need to get a bird netting across the top. But that is what I'm doing this afternoon. This morning I worked on I put some seeds in some cups, and I'll hopefully do more of that today or tomorrow and get my tomatoes, peppers, and that kind of thing started, I hope. So this is what I'm up to today. Well, that door took me forever, and so I think I'm going to call it finished for tonight. I got my sheet metal tacked on to take care of that spot where I thought the water might get in because I'd cut too far. I put, there's a brand of like waterproof Gorilla Tape. When I was at the hardware store, I was looking for the waterproofing kind of tape that I see construction people put on the floors, just under where they're going to put sliding glass doors and under where they're going to put windows, and I thought it was for waterproofing. I never knew what that was called, so I couldn't find any, but I found this Gorilla Tape that's supposed to be waterproof. And so it's ugly, but I got it there, and I got it, there was another spot along here. So that's not at all pretty, but that should keep the water from getting in those two cuts. And then over here, because my sheet metal didn't come down far enough, it was either a choice between pulling it up here and having this line up better, or dropping it down, but then trying to figure out how to cut this that would poke out. So, yeah, that's that. And then the door, I had meant for this part to be on the inside, but then I couldn't figure out how to do the hinges. You guys, if you have somebody in your life that builds things and does things like hinges and doors, tell them thank you, because this was a big old pain in the behind. So I found when I flipped it this way, I could install the hinges. And then I wanted it to open down so I can reach in and get the hopefully future eggs out of the nest box. And then I can open it just enough for my arm to stick in, so hopefully I won't lose any chickens like I did the quail that jumped out. So it's a little tight fit there, so I'm gonna have to sand it or cut it somehow because that's too tight. And then my building's not square, so that's too loose. I feel like Goldilocks. And then this is what it looks like on the inside. So you see lots of daylight shining through, which means it can let in predators, snakes, weasels, whatever. So if I put, I think if I put like a stopper, like trim attached to this side, it'll block up that daylight and it'll also stop the door from falling too far in. So I plan on doing that if I can figure that out. And then the sheet metal covered up this hole that I thought would be a problem for predators. So moving along, I'm going to divide that into probably 3 nest boxes. I need to read up again. I think nest boxes are like 1 foot wide, and this is almost 4 foot wide. So they'll be a little too big if I only do 3. But maybe better too big than too small. I don't know. So this is how far I got. Next step will be, I don't have the lumber to do, I don't think. I'll have to look around and see if there's any laying around from the construction. But I would want something thinner like trim to put up there as a stopper or door jamb, or I don't know what you would call it. So I don't think I have the lumber for that, so that'll have to wait a little bit. So maybe in the next couple days, if it doesn't rain, I can paint the floor and then get the linoleum in. And then I still have to close that off for it to be waterproof. The rain mostly blows in from this side and from this side. So at least I have it now pretty well set so the rain doesn't just blow in and puddle. So that is my progress for tonight, and I'm going to call it quits for tonight. Hope you have a wonderful evening. It is beautiful weather today. See ya.